fine, you jump. You ready?
Yeah. Don't worry. I won't go. Okay. All right. So we have got a spark, but it's not fantastic, but we have got a spark.
Right, well, welcome to a new Harry's Garage video, and as you can probably see, we are back at Painting Classic Cars for the 8th report on the Jaguar XJC V12 manual. Keith Parrington has been working wonders. There's a whole lot more bodywork going on the car. The doors are being hung at the moment, but there's also Tom Lenthall here as well. Tom? Hello. Yeah. Tom's here because we're going to have a go at starting the engine as well. It hasn't been started since I dropped it off here, basically. Tom's done the rebuild on it, and this is the moment where we hope it sparks into life. There's lots of ifs and buts to see if the engine starts because of the injectors. I'm using the old injectors because there's a new wiring loom, the whole load of excuses. So whether it will, we'll find out in a moment. I've literally just walked in, and I've sort of stopped them doing anything on the engine because we're actually just at the point where it might spark into life, or it might be a couple of hours later, we'll see. So I think it's time for me to go behind the camera and join Keith and Tom and see if they can work some magic on the engine. What are we looking for? You're looking for
what we're looking for is stable pressure.
Right,
yeah, 30 psi at this stage is absolutely fine.
Excellent.
I've got 30 psi, which is all right. You can adjust it on the fuel pressure regulars, but we're not at that stage yet.
You had an issue before, didn't you? You had a leak from a return pipe.
We were leaking on a return pipe, yeah. We've obviously fuel going back to the tank and not going to the tank on the floor is not where you want to be. It's not
No, it's not.
So so we've managed to plug that leak for the moment.
So you've worked through a fair bit in here, haven't you, this morning before I got here?
Yes. Set the throttle pot up so you can hear it actually.
Yes.
In fact,
what am I hearing? I'm hearing injectors.
You're hearing the injectors click. What's supposed to happen is as I rotate this, I'm supposed to get 20 clicks from start to finish. Right. So when we put all this together, we didn't have it electrically connected up, so I've adjusted that this morning. Yeah. If you don't go back to the fully closed position on the throttle position sensor, then effectively we're not on what we're going to call the idle map on the ECU. Is the best way of explaining it. I've set that up. I've adjusted the rods because they were holding on a little bit.
Oh, okay.
So now that
that's the throttle bodies. You can just see them.
Well, yeah, you can. If I go like that, you can see them opening and shutting.
Yeah, there we are. Yeah.
You probably remember from way back. That was the first thing we saw when I showed you there was a load of oil down it.
That was it. That was not good.
The start of this particular journey.
Yeah. But look at the shiny lump now. Look at it. It looks beautiful. And you've got me the badges on top.
Yeah,
we haven't
fully stuck them down yet. I want to wait until we're finished. But yeah, we just made sure that we've got injectors injecting and spark.
Just the basics so far.
Just the basics so far. Yeah. We've got fuel pressure, we've got injectors injecting, and we've got a spark.
But it's a weak spark.
It's a weak spark, and it also looks like a weak injector pulse. But that is actually quite typical of these. That's what they never give a. And I can show you that if you wish. If you want. This is a test light.
Okay.
Yeah, Noid light. So if I put that in there,
right,
and then I turn it once, you can hear the click, and I'm doing it quite slowly, but you can see there's no light. But if I move it rapidly, you can actually see the voltage going through the light. So it's not unusual for these. It's not like a modern system.
No, you will eventually sell me the upgraded injection. You will get there, but right now.
This is what we're working with at the moment.
Yeah. Well, I did say this,
and I did promise myself that I was never going to go through this pain again. Anyway, there you go.
This car was the perfect starter before it came here, so I don't know what you've done to it. I mean, it was just always worked. I know you put a new wiring loom, rebuilt the engine, and completely replaced everything, but I'm sure it'd be fine. Yeah.
So we're sort of about ready to give it a whirl. We don't know if our timing's right. There's still lots of things that we need to do to set up, but we're just going to give it a go.
Well, that's the idea today. I realise there's a lot of reasons why it shouldn't work.
Yeah, we've got a few vacuum pipes that we need to blank off when we do full setup, but for actually starting up for the minute, that shouldn't cause.
We've got sparks, we've got fuel, we've got coolant in.
Yeah.
What could go wrong? exactly.
Let's just see what happens. See if we can get anything to fire up here.
Okay.
But
There's one cylinder that wants to fire, but just the one.
Okay, so what's happening is when I'm putting the throttle, we're putting fuel in, and I can smell the fuel coming out the back. We're not burning it properly. No. And when I'm putting full throttle on, what I'm doing is I'm allowing extra air into the engine.
Yes.
To help mix with the fuel, but it also, when you go on full throttle on crank, it gives it what you call injector cut-off and stops the injectors pulsing so much. I can smell all the fuel going in. I know the injectors are working. I can't adjust it. It's trying to catch on 1 or 2 cylinders.
That's all I'm hearing. Yeah.
And it's, I think we need to adjust the timing, and for me to now take that any further forward, I've just got to get this in bits so I can work out what's going on there.
Plenty of other things to look around this car, because there's a lot Keith's been doing on the bodywork, so I might disappear around and have a look at that now. We're getting there, Keith.
We're getting there.
We are getting there.
It looks less of a car than it did the last time you were here, but we are making progress.
Yeah, the wings and bonnet. Well, I can quite see why you take those off when you're working on it.
We don't want,
no.
The wing would be here, so.
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense, and it actually shows off how much work and how much rust proofing and extra work you actually do on it.
All sealed up.
Look at that. If only it looked like that when I brought it down to you, eh? All that work we would have saved.
Yeah, because that's the inner wing. Do I see?
No, the wing will come all the way up onto here.
That's it.
Well, it'll follow straight down here because you've got the bonnet shut line there, so straight the way down.
Of course, it's here, isn't it? I'm just trying to think. It looks so beautifully painted, but yeah, that's all. So you have to take the wing off to get to those.
Yep.
Those nuts there for the door.
Yeah, so the wings have got to come off to get the doors off of here, but you can get them off the back anyway. So
that's why it looks slightly.
Yeah.
But the door, it's on.
It's on. It's opening. It's closing.
Go on there.
It's don't fail us now.
No. Look at that.
So we're still kind of at the lining up stage, as much as we've got the new rubbers here.
Right.
Which, they're pliable here.
Right.
But say down in the bottom where you've got a 90-degree join, that's a really hard bit of rubber. So you get all kinds of trouble trying to get them to shut.
Right.
So to begin with, we over tighten them just to compress the rubber a bit, so you're not trying to close the door. So this one's settling in really nicely now. You've got a nice gap all the way around. It's all lined up well.
Really nice. Yeah.
And despite that demonstration, it opens and closes quite easily.
And then you've added the trim as well, haven't we?
We're putting the chrome trim on, and as we discussed, this is where they'd.
Oh, there it is.
So you've got the cracks.
I wouldn't think that. Looking at that, I just think that's normal. It's like that's a join. If you hadn't pointed it out to me.
Well, with the joining pieces, because again, as we said in the last video, this is a 2-piece chrome.
Yeah.
So this one comes up the way here, and then you've got a joining strip here.
Yeah.
So you've got the 2 joining pieces, but this side is split there and at the front.
Right.
I think the other side is only split on the back one.
I see. Well, so I'm going to live with it. For the time being, just look at my door. Look at that. That's madness. Yeah, that's really nice. Because this been flatted off now? I can't on the paint. Where
the door's been flattened off and polished.
Right.
We've still got to do the roof yet, which is why if you look here, the windscreen is in, but we haven't put the filler strip in here yet because that will push it up against there.
I see.
So what we do is with the glass in,
yeah,
because we wet flat, we don't want the inside getting wet.
Right.
So the glass sits there, we can get up to all the edges and polish it up. Then we put the filler strip in when we're done, and it presses the rubber back out against the body.
Right. No, it's really looking very elegant. And we have bumpers, but you were telling me there's a slight issue with the bumpers. We ordered new bumpers up, didn't we? So.
And we got 2 driver's side corners.
Right.
Which is not really what we're after.
So that's a new one there.
Yep.
And we go, well, look at all the badging on the back.
Makes a huge difference, doesn't it?
Yes, and some of you might spot there's a new registration for this car as well. I just thought we ought to celebrate the 5.3 V12, so it's a 5.3S registration. But yeah, that's lovely. Is that going to stay up?
Yeah.
Yeah. God, look at that. How lovely is that?
It's quite dusty, but
Well, it's
but it's all
solid.
white colour. It's all solid.
There is always this crazy mess at the back, isn't there, with these
Yeah.
pumps and switchover valves.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in there.
That's ridiculous.
But no, it's ready now. We just put the soundproofing on this top panel here,
Right.
put the boot boards in, and recarpet it. So that's all heading the right way.
And there's all the badging, the 5.3, and the fuel injection.
All those holes filled in.
Yeah, that's what all those holes were for. Is that? Yeah, that dip was closed, wasn't it? I can't remember.
It does close, but again, with the new rubbers, we're not
Right.
quite ready to.
Okay.
It should just be a gentle press, but the rubber is pushing it. We've got to pull it down still here. The rubber's just holding it up slightly.
Right. That looks like a proper car again.
It does.
Yeah. On round. So so that's the one you didn't get in the.
No. So we've got another one off at the Chromas right now being done.
that was not bad.
I can say this one is really good. It was the best part of the back bumper.
Right. So that's my original.
That's your original one.
Oh gosh. Well, that's that's pretty.
Is
close,
exceptionally good.
actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So there's the brake there.
That's it. You've got the split there.
There's
This
the brake
front
there,
piece is good.
Yeah.
It does have the dent in it there
Right.
as well, which we'll try to clean and dress as best we can.
Wow.
And then inside something to come together as well.
Yeah. There it is. The new dash.
The new dashboard.
Walnut. Yeah. And my lovely wheel.
And your leather dash top.
Oh, of course. Yeah. That's
So that was all
fitted
retrimmed in
wasn't
leather
it?
as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's still work in progress, slightly the interior, but
It's still coming together.
yeah. And those are the original carpets, aren't they?
Yep.
So
Yeah, all the original carpeting's gone back in the car.
that's not bad, actually.
We put sound deadening underneath the carpets because, as
Oh,
we said
that's
before, that was missing.
Yeah.
We've still got the sound deadening pads to put inside the door shell. You
Oh,
can see
okay.
that there.
Yeah.
So we're going to put some deadening in there as well. So with all of this and your thick roof
Yeah.
lining pad, hopefully some of that tinniness now will be
yes.
gone.
There's a bit of glass poking out there. Is that in?
It's in.
Glass is in.
Both
it
of the
works.
glasses are in.
Gosh. Oh, are they? The other side. I
The
can't
other
even
side's
see
in
it.
as well. Yeah.
Oh, so it will go completely.
will go all
across.
the way
Yeah,
down,
It's
yeah.
just showing.
Yeah.
Oh, that looks so different. So nice to see the car. If I just imagine it like that. I just hold the camera there. There it is.
Yeah, it won't be long.
Yeah. It's not going to be long, is it? Yeah. So you're.
Tom disagrees.
Yes, Tom.
It's not
Well,
time yet.
Yeah, Tom's had better days. haven't
Nothing
you?
ever happens fast enough for me. That's my problem. I'm impatient, so I don't think But it's a lot of hours. One thing I do know is when you're fixing up a car like this, there's so much work to do. It's
Customers are always amazed though that for sake of argument, it's 40 hours to take something apart.
Yeah.
But it's 140 to put it back together again.
Yeah,
And it's just taking it apart.
there's no
There's the easy
comparison.
bit.
No.
But you were saying, Tom, you're doing quite a few of these now, aren't you? 5.3
Well,
coupes.
we've done quite a lot of them in the past. Anyway, I mean, if you remember when you first came
Yeah.
up to see me, we were doing one for a chap which we were spraying Squadron Blue, which is the colour this has come out of.
Yeah.
And then we had another one booked in, but obviously subsequently, since we've done this for you, people obviously know that we can do this sort of stuff. So yeah, no, we've definitely had a few more come in. Yeah, there's no two ways about it.
Yeah.
And they're incredibly popular. And the popularity of these have been growing for.
It's been picking up over the past 5 years or so, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you used to be able to get these for very, very small amount of money,
Yeah.
but that's not the case anymore.
No. Well, this is a £5,000 car, wasn't it? When I
Yeah,
used to rock around in it.
yeah.
Probably £5 wouldn't get you something that rolls now, let alone runs.
But that, in effect, is half the problem. Is the fact that because they were £5,000 cars, no one
Yes.
spent any money on them.
But
So
no,
you've
there
got to be
are
really
a lot
careful
of
because there's a lot
wrecks.
of. There's a lot of them out there with fiberglass in them, and
Well, we
all
know.
the things
We
that you
know.
found.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they don't look like this. That's what makes it so special. Oh, you've gone into this crazy distributor now.
Yeah,
You've
it's a
never
horrible
seen,
thing, yeah.
look at that in there. This strange board here, isn't there?
Yeah, it's trigger
And this
board, yeah.
Trigger board, yeah. Very, very odd. And the mother of a distributor cap with a 12 on it. Yeah.
so,
No one's favourite thing at all.
No, so we're just going to try and free that up so we can get some adjustment. Maybe that's probably a bit too difficult to see on the
What can you
camera,
see?
but
Yeah, what can you see? Is
I
it
can
just
see,
shiny?
No, I can see black soot on the top of the piston, which means I've been burning something.
All right. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that tells
And
me
you've
that...
got copper slip, I see, on the plug threads.
Oh, definitely, 100%. yeah. It's the old, it's dissimilar metals. That's these are aluminium heads.
Right.
You know, one of the things that we were taught as apprentices was that we always put copper slip around the thread, particularly on V12s. Although it applies to all engines really.
Yeah.
But the amount of times that we would take spark plugs out of V12 engines, and they would literally rip the threads out and shear off, and we'd have to drill them out. And, you know,
Copper slip saves an awful lot, doesn't
copper
it?
slip takes that out of the equation. So whenever we put a spark plug in, we always put copper slip on it, because that's the saviour. And that's also one of my, you're going to hear one of my bugbears now. With the modern engines, I understand better fuel injection, modern fuels, all this sort of stuff. 100,000 miles in between spark plug changes.
Yes.
It's not good.
No.
Particularly when we get customers come in that have had low mileage cars. Even after, I'm going to say, 50 or 60,000 miles, we change the spark plugs in the cars anyway. And I'm talking sort of like cars from sort of, I don't know, 2005, 2010 onwards.
Right.
And I guarantee you that 9 times out of 10 that they always get better fuel economy by about 2 to 3 miles per gallon, because we're just asking these to last too long.
The filter back on.
Yeah, we've got a bit of movement.
Lots of movement.
Let's see if we can get this thing to catch.
So now we're playing with all sorts of variables.
Yeah, now we're moving things around a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, go on then, Keith, give it a whirl. Let's see what happens here.
Good pressure there.
Yeah, got pressure on the gauge.
Yeah, got fuel pressure, mate. Yeah.
Going. And
I just don't think this spark is good enough. I think that's when we're hearing it catch, it's just burning a little bit of fuel, and my spark here is pretty rubbish.
You've got one that sort of steps in between, haven't you?
Yeah, and it gives me
one of those.
Yeah, so I can see the spark jumping across. It's so weak.
Yeah.
I just think that we're not getting a good enough spark out of this system.
This has got illumination, electronic ignition.
Correct.
There,
yeah.
so there's no points, nothing like that.
No,
there,
it's a Hall effect sensor with a trigger wheel, and this is a 9 volt. It's a 9 volt drop down system from memory on these, and this is the resistor for it. And what's supposed to happen is when we're on crank, it's supposed to then give a better spark, and then it drops down to a lower voltage for running.
Right.
So we could have a problem with the resistor, could have a problem with the wiring. So I need to, my next step is now, I believe that it's wired up correctly because I've got a spark.
Yes.
Yeah, so if it was wired up incorrectly, I don't believe I'd have a spark. Now I need to check the voltages going in, because I could be low on voltage, it could not be ramping up the voltage as it should do. So I just need to go and do a few more electrical checks now, and then see if I can get that spark a bit better. That's what I need to do.
Okay. So frustrating engines when they do this, isn't it? Explain what's happening.
Okay, yeah. So we've had a lot of trouble with getting the spark and the distributor timing right. So we've managed to get the distributor freed up and get that side of things working correctly. We've managed to jump a good 12 volt feed to the coil, because that wasn't working correctly.
Yeah.
And now it would appear that our spark has dropped off again. So at one point we had a really powerful spark, enough to ignite our fuel.
Really odd.
And now it's dropped back down. So we then went down the rotor arm route, and we've just tried it again. We've got an excellent spark coming out of the coil on the HT
Basically,
lead.
we've taken the lead off the coil, and then you do it.
We take that one off.
So the lead going into the coil is as strong as anything.
Yeah, beautiful spark going into the distributor cap.
But not coming out.
And a very, very weak spark coming out of the other end.
Yeah.
So I believe either the rotor arm or the cap has a problem, which is we're losing it. It's probably tracking out and tracing like almost like a lightning storm going on inside the cap is effectively what I think's happening.
It's very frustrating, because we have a beautifully prepared engine, everything's right, but it's a fundamental like this and we can't get round it.
Well, the humour of it is that, this is probably the one component that we haven't replaced.
It's a distributor. Well, yes,
Yeah.
but it looks shiny new. So
Yeah.
I'm advising. Well, you're saying we can fit a different distributor, all fitted with a new ignition pack in it.
Yeah.
And that'll be the way forward.
I just think it's the simplest way. We take that unit out and we
Yeah.
put in a unit that we know works,
Yeah.
and it does the spark, it does the fuel injection trigger, and they're pretty much plug and play.
Yeah. And the distributor on this age of V12 Jaguar is doing the trigger for the fuel as well as the ignition, isn't it? So
It is.
with this trigger board in it.
Yeah, it's got the trigger board in it, so what it's doing is giving a signal to fire the injector, as well as giving us a signal to fire our spark plug.
Yeah.
So
So
it's
it's a
actually doing both. It's a dual.
Pretty critical bit of kit. So I
Yeah.
think it's worth upgrading to a more modern
Yeah.
integrated
I
system.
mean, effectively, it's the heartbeat.
Yeah.
You know, it's the best
It
way
is.
of describing it. It
Doesn't work without.
Yeah, it will not work without that.
Yeah, and it's
that simple.
available, and we've rung up, and it's £420, and I think that was
Yeah.
well worth it. On when you look at the rest of it and where we are with it, yeah.
Yeah.
Tom, I really appreciate you coming down.
Oh,
Sorry
well,
it's not
you know,
quite
I
as
wish,
we hoped.
Wish we'd have been able to achieve everything we wanted to achieve, but
Yeah.
you know, unfortunately, sometimes old components have different ideas.
Yeah.
Well, there we are. We had hoped to fire up the engine, but was not to be. But we sort of diagnosed what's wrong. I'm very confident that is going to be what the problem is. Tom knows his V12, so yeah, we'll go for that, and that's going to arrive tomorrow, I think. So we could well have a start up fairly imminent. But you look at the rest of the car. Well, I'm just loving it. I'm still loving the green. I love with the added bit of chrome on it as well. I've seen the wings and the bonnet there hiding upstairs, ready to go. You can sort of understand if you see the work going in to try and get this V12 started, why you don't fit the wings and bonnet at this stage. But once the engine is fired up, we're pretty close. I think we're just going to have a different sort of Kenlo fan arrangement at the front. Tom spotted my old one and isn't particularly keen on it, so he's just going to get another one made up for that. But we are weeks away from this car arriving back in the garage. That's the plan anyway. Hugely grateful for Brad over there and Keith holding the camera because I forgot my tripod for the work that's gone into this car. Tantalisingly close, that's the idea. So anyway, if we get the engine started and Tom can send me a clip, I will add it to the end of the video. Otherwise, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, keep watching, keep subscribing, more videos coming on very soon.